Hello.
Hi,
How are you?
good. How are you?
Good, good, good. Excited. You're my very first interview for anything, Xianyun.
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah,
I'm excited and a little nervous. So yeah.
yeah. Thanks for willing to do this.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I could just jump around a little bit before getting to Genshin.
Okay, cool. Sounds good
So
to
I
me.
did think it was really interesting that you got to like help build the Sharknado set.
Oh my gosh. Chris, have you done your research? Yeah, okay, to be fair, it was like Sharknado 2, and it was about like I was there for I think I ended up with like 2 days. I was helping out with something. I think it was like some sort of like submarine or something that we were working on. So yeah, it was such a random, super random story, but I'm glad I did it. That's kind of like the nature of like Los Angeles, and when you're first starting, you're so excited to want to try things, and you're like, yeah, why not? So yeah.
What about how you wound up getting that role in Vegas, the show?
Yeah, semi-similar situation. But that one was so funny because that's when I first moved out and I was just trying to like figure out like how does everything work and uh and that was interesting because they actually had me I had to dress up like oh gosh, this is so embarrassing. But I had to dress up like I think it was like a showgirl and cocktail waitress at that time, and I was like, oh geez. Let's hope no one ever finds that. So yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I did think it was interesting that too that you didn't get into SAG until you worked on the Final Fantasy game or one of them.
Yeah. I wanted to make sure that I was well, that was when I got Taft Hartley'd.
Yeah.
Actually, that's when the whole Taft Hartley situation happened because I was working like the production side and that eased into the acting side. So I would say that's probably like one of the coolest, most magical ways to like kind of get into the union, if I'm being honest. Like, it doesn't happen for everybody that way. And so the fact that I was able to do it that way and that like directors and like team like believed enough that they were like, you know what, Stephanie totally deserves this. Like, let's give her a shot, you know? And so that was pretty magical.
Was it kind of like from the start that you had more affinity to pursue voiceover over live action work?
Yeah, I kind of fell into it, to be honest. I loved acting since I was a kid, but it wasn't something that I legitimately thought of as a career. Like I didn't think that that was a thing. People, I don't know. I legitimately just thought that some people just were actors and they were just like famous or something. I had no understanding of how that concept works. So, uh, for it to all kind of go down the way it did was pretty cool. So
And since you got to work on the other Final Fantasy games, were you like aware of what anime was? Like, were you a fan of anything like that?
I mean, anime wise, honestly, I feel like I kind of got in more on like basic level stuff, so which I still think is beloved, but it'd be like Pokemon, if there was anything that was like Dragon Ball Z, I love The Last Airbender. So that stuff I kind of already knew and understood. And then Final Fantasy, I already knew from growing up too, because we used to have a couple of the games growing up and all that. And so I knew of it already. I guess I just really delved into it once I was a part of it, like work wise. Then I really got to understand it because it was just on another level of depth that I maybe didn't even like I probably wouldn't have even recognized like an NPC character, you know what I mean? Before I'd be like, oh, you're just playing, you're just going through the thing. And then like having that understanding of it from the work perspective made you go, oh my gosh, there's like whole storylines with like NPC characters and like they have their own worlds and what they're going through. And so I think it just made me appreciate um I guess games and then anime as a whole. I'll be honest, I feel like anime, like truly delving into anime is something that I want to try. And I've been a little bit like scared because I'm like, I need to find the right show, you know, and then go from there. And once I delve in, I know that some of them are like hundreds of episodes, you know? So it's like, how do I even step into some of it? But of course, there's always like Studio Ghibli stuff and stuff like that that I'd already watched, like films that I like already love and I think are so captivating and all that. Um, so yeah, so I'm still kind of like fresh, but not totally fresh in that world. Yeah.
Well, is there? I know that you did like a additional voices on it too, but is there any special story of how you got Persona 5?
Persona, no, that one was actually so PCB Studios. Funny enough, I have my mug over here that I have with me.
Oh,
That's them. So they were the ones that I I don't know if I would say there's a special story, but I used to take classes with them. So
okay.
at that studio, and when I was kind of first starting to develop understanding technique and things like that, and yeah, and they ended up, you know, calling me in for Persona 5 and doing some fun characters within the world. Again, they're like NPC characters within the world that have like their own storylines, their own personalities, and that's another pretty massive game I would say with different types of you know, we'll call them teens. I think I played some pretty mean girls to be honest with you, if I remember right. So yeah. The range is fun. I'm like sometimes it's like I'm like good guys and other times I'm like not good guys. You never know what you're stepping into, especially for a project like that. It's a larger project. So
Well, what do you think is the case where you had to alter your voice the most for anything?
ooh. I mean if we're talking I mean alteration of a voice specifically, it really depends on project because I so Bada Bean is an animated series that I'm a part of that I'm like this little boy inanimate object. I guess we'll say he's like a little bean sprout literally, and so that I'm, you know, altering my voice quite dramatically. And then in Paladins I play a villain Vora, which that's like an accent plus an alteration of like in lower and register. And then obviously with Cloud Retainer, I actually thought that I was replaced when I went to go listen back to what I've been done. I was like, oh, I should watch some cutscenes. I know that it's out now, like her role. And so I was watching it and I was like, oh crap, they totally replaced me. And I was like, that sucks. That hurts. And then I like did it back and I was like, oh my God, no, I did that. And I was like, I hadn't worked within that range for a project yet. And so I was like, oh, okay. I even showed it, actually, I showed it to my mom and one of my brothers, and they were like, that's you. And I was like, I just said the same thing. Like, so I would say that's another character that's obviously been very quite different as well, but it varies. I've played all kinds of stuff. I've played creatures too, you know, like I've done voices for like dragon. Like we had like a in Bada Bean, like I played like this dragon. I've also played an old man. Like it just, I maybe just have an identity crisis because I don't even know who or what I'm going to be playing anymore. So yeah.
Well, one thing I always like to ask voice actors that also do boy voices what their particular process is for doing them.
For process, so I think the biggest thing too is like, so when we say like doing voices, right? I definitely never see it as a voice.
Okay.
So I always, it's a character and it's a person or whatever that is. So I tend to, you know, let's say I have, and you're talking like audition wise or just literally when the creation of a character, I've got the role, what do I kind of break it down? Is that what you're asking?
Oh, for boys specifically.
Yeah, so I always just kind of break it down. So if I have you know, a breakdown of what that character is, if I'm lucky enough to have a picture that's fantastic, sometimes we don't even have a photo yet or anything. So I tend to ask a lot of questions. So I'm that type of actor that just doesn't go in and just be like, okay, cool, that's what you want. I'm just gonna just do it. Like I ask a lot of questions. So I'll usually be like, okay, so what's the relationship to this person? Like, and then as we're finding a voice that's different, because we'll just be like, do you want lower in register, higher in register, whatever that might be. And I really ask a lot of questions about personality because that's going to dictate whether I decide that this character maybe is mischievous and has a little bit of like a rasp in their voice, you know what I mean? Or has a certain cadence that's a little bit quicker in how they say things, or maybe there's a certain word that's specific to them. But it comes down like completely to character and understanding who that character is and what are my wants and where are my flaws at, like what am I maybe insecure about and what am I really strong at. And so I guess once I have an understanding of that part, then that's when I start to layer on, what they actually sound like. So, but I think that's usually the most important for me so that I really have a true grasp on it. Because even though if I work in video games and animation, that doesn't make them any less deep to me. Like that's just the same process that I would use for on camera or within theater or whatever it might be. I use that same process and just bring it into this world. It might be a little more animated, it might be a little more surreal, but I never take away from the depth of that character still. So, yeah.
Well, I would guess too that is Claire still the darkest headspace you've had to go for anything?
The darkest headspace. She's I don't know because she's very hopeful. She's a very hopeful character that has a lot of faith in things still figuring like she's like that type of like survivor mode. She never gets super dark if she doesn't have to. Like she's within a dark world, but she's kind of like the light within the dark world. So, and that's how I kind of think of her. So she'll, even though she might have moments of getting to a dark place, she'll try and find the light or create the light wherever she can. So I would say that there is other characters that probably I've had to get a little bit darker. There's something that will likely come out sometime this year, maybe. I don't know that I feel like I've had to get darker with and kind of have a sense of, because I think with darkness, I think you have to have like a sense of like there is no light and this is, whatever it might be. And so I think that those are the characters where I've had to kind of pull that from. Those are hard. Those are hard sessions because when you get out of a session of that, you're like, oh, doom and gloom. Okay, let me pick myself back up from that one. So, but they haven't. I would say that more of my darker stuff is yet to come right now of like truly characters that have fallen into some desperation. So, but Claire, don't get me wrong. She's been through some dark stuff and she's seen some messed up things. She just has fight that she won't give up. So, yeah.
Well, so with Genshin, did you audition for like a number of characters originally?
With Genshin, I have to admit, I was very fortunate that I had worked with another director that was doing a lot of the casting. Casting, wow, that just came out. I don't know what characters I've been playing lately. Casting, and he actually was like, "Listen, we have this project, and I think you would be really fantastic for this role." And so it kind of worked out because of the fact that I had worked on other projects and they knew my work. It's funny because when that happened, that's why I was so shocked when I had a character that was completely out of a range that I usually did. So I was like, whoa. But, that director and casting director saw it in me that I could, and I'm really glad that they did because that allowed me to expand into another world that I didn't even know. So yeah, so I actually didn't even do the audition process for that one. That was all through many, many years of relationship building and working on many other projects. So
Did you this might be obvious too, but did you only see her bird form first?
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was always that. We like always wanted a human form, and I feel like that was like so Chris Fala, who's the director, which I'm sure you've heard his name a lot. We would always joke about it, and like with the writers, we'd be like, when are they going to do it? When are they going to do it? And they're like, I don't know. I hope they do, And he was, because he was like a pretty big gamer. So especially with Genshin, he's like, oh, they better do it. It just makes sense, And like, and then I was like, well, I hope they do. So I purposely didn't play the game until I was like, they have her playable because I was like, I want to come into this like at the right time. So, which I'm also really sad that I waited so long because now I'm like kicking myself and I'm like, damn, I shot myself in the foot. I should have just started right away. So, um, but yeah, so I only saw her Adeptus form, in the beginning. And then when I got to see her human form, I was like, whoa, dude. I'm like she's very sexy. I was like, okay, well, hopefully, because I'm used to. I don't play a ton of like very sexy characters. I have like maybe one character that I play in another thing. Game's called Shing, and I play this character called Bachiko, and I remember going into that, and it was such a sexy character, and I was like, oh no, I don't know if I can do this. I was like, I can't take this seriously. So they actually allowed me what I did was I made her so sexual that she makes everyone around her uncomfortable. And so that's kind of how I empowered her in her own way. So when I got to see Xianyun's character, I was like, oh man, how am I going to do this? But when I realized that like she's still super badass and like very respectable, and she has this air of elegance about her, layered on top of all the hilariousness underneath it all too. But like I was pretty happy about that. I mean, she looks fantastic.
Yeah.
So,
And in terms of developing her voice, was that up to you at all, or like was it more of a direction?
you know, I feel like it was probably a mixture of both.
Yeah.
I think that there was definitely a sense that we wanted her lower in register and an air of like otherworldly because she is an Adeptus god. So I think that that was definitely directed. However, I feel that I probably added more of the like haughty, like kind of like humor that came with her. You know what I mean? And that sass or that feist, that came in there, which I don't know if she had it as much. And I might be completely wrong, in the other, dubbed versions of her. But I feel like definitely probably that was probably my take on it, and then we all kind of worked together and we kind of found her because she really is a character that's grown throughout the game, so we kind of like the more and more you got to know her, you got to say like, oh wait, in the beginning she was just like a total jerk. You were just like, I don't want to visit this freaking Adeptus bird. You know what I mean? Like, and then you kind of started to see within the cracks and you started to delve deeper into why and all the things. And so I think that was definitely a collaboration with that one. But initially, the depth of where her range was, I think, was probably directed. But then the rest of the extra layers of her personality and cadence and all that, I think, was myself. So,
Was it hard to get used to the way that she speaks?
yeah, 100%. Oh my gosh. And it's not so much like it'd be different if she only said like a sentence. She usually gives you a novel, and she's also has this way that she speaks, and one this, one that, and everything. And so, yeah, and she also says every single person's name and every single location's name, and you got to say it right, so that was definitely a challenge. I'm not gonna lie to you. And I think the challenge is because I really care about what I'm saying and making sure that it comes out authentically and with depth, and I understand what I'm saying and why all of it's happening, that adds another layer into it. Because it's not like you could just say the thing. Like you have to like really feel the thing, you know? And so yeah, that's a she was a fun challenge, we'll say, but like absolutely love the way she is. Like I wouldn't change it in any way. I wouldn't change her verbose nature or her confidence. So yeah.
Do you have a default line or like a process of what you do to get into her headspace for recording?
I definitely always have to think of the word one. And it's for some reason this I don't even know if it's in line, but when I think of her, I was like, one was it? One is most impressed. I just say that to myself, you know what I mean? And then that gets me to that place because I'm like, oh, okay. This is when she's, oh, hello. You know what I mean? Like this is a way of being, you know? So I think like it sounds weird, but I just kind of think of that one line just kind of pulls me into her. And then also when I was creating her, I just thought of like a couple of different people and characters that I like. I don't know if you ever saw Schitt's Creek.
Yeah.
You know, Moira.
Yeah.
So I feel like she feels a little bit like her in some instances because she just is so out of the normal realm that you're like, really? You know? And so that was one character that she kind of like, as I was growing into her, I was like, oh my God, she reminds me of her a little bit, you know? And then there were some ways about her that remind me of like my yaya that like I love. And so like when she has that like way of like being stern but also incredibly loving and you're like, "Whoa, there's an interesting juxtaposition there, you know?" And so yeah.
Could you easily relate to her with anything?
um I think I could relate to her in it's interesting because she's so like removed from civilization, but also knows so much about it that almost pulls her out. And so, like, in a weird way, like, when I was a kid, like, I got like bullied a lot. So I understood that feeling of like, um, kind of feeling like you're casted out from the group, but like everyone still notices what you do, if
Hmm.
that makes sense. And so, like, there's this interesting thing about her that I feel like she wishes to be a part of like everything with everyone, but she needs somebody to ask her to please do it, you know, to please come and join. And because she doesn't want to intrude or be intrusive and feel that, you know. And so it's very interesting because I think that when I was younger, when I was a kid, I probably could understand that, you know? And so then she almost has like, you know, like that's why she gets so ruffled by things, you know what I mean? Like, because it's like, she's like, oh, well, if only you would ask me, then I will come. But like, I'm never going to make you ask me, you know what I mean? So, which I think is really funny because I feel like I probably was like that when I was younger. And also just kind of, she is her own individual self. Like, no one is like her, you know what I mean? And she's not afraid to be herself, which I can also relate to, you know, and even if it can be embarrassing or whatever it is. So I think in that sense, also like I'm a big sister, and so like I feel like anything that relates to like family and all that stuff, like I definitely have a very strong family upbringing and sense of like you protect those you love kind of thing. And so I would say that too as well.
Do you think that you have more affinity with Ganyu or Shenhe, or do you like them both equally?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I like them both. To be fair, I only know them so far as the storyline goes between what I know that I've done with work.
Yeah.
So, because I started playing Genshin, and I'm only at AR 17 right now. So, like, So I have a ways to go to like really, really get to delve in. So it's hard to say, I think they're different. They're highly different. So I don't know if I have a preference at this point. I don't know if I will have a preference either, though. So yeah.
I'm sure you've seen a lot of people really liked her interaction with Zhongli.
Oh yeah. I've chosen not to watch how it went down,
Okay.
but I'll like read comments. Because I wanna play through it and like experience it with everyone. So um yes, I have read the comments about are they ex-lovers? Were they married? I've heard the comments of like, man, they are really having a hard time trying to be like inconspicuous, and then the like layers of the awkwardness and all of that. So yes, I am very much excited to see because when I was recording it, I kept laughing and I was like, oh, this is gonna be good. Like, I was like, oh man, I'm like, how many people are gonna ship them together? Like, so I don't know. How do you are you one of the people that's shipping them together or
I mean, having talked to Keith as well, I don't know. I think it probably would be a fun thing to imagine.
I find it so funny. Yeah, it's been really fun to see the commentary on that. Like, there's been a couple scenes that I've seen like people like really point out, and that was definitely their interactions came up a lot. So yeah.
I think it is cool that there is a comedy aspect brought to her character with complaining about Moon Carver and like the other character.
Those old fossils, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they are it's hilarious because it's like she loves them, but she's so incredibly annoyed by them at the same time. Like, and that's yeah. So that's that family thing again. I think she's like such a low like she's the how would I explain her? She's an introvert that is actually a true extrovert because she really gets her energy from people. But then when she's had too much, she's like, get away. So it's just so funny. Yeah. It's hilarious.
What about your thoughts on her relationship with Gui Zhang and Madame Ping?
Oh, for Guiche. You know, I haven't watched how it all went down yet, but I do think it's it's super that one's a difficult like there's so many layers to that story with that and like how she handles that and how she like has a relationship with them. And it's really kind of cool to see how she also looks over to them for advice as well, which I think is really cool. So, and again, that just goes to show that like the writing was really well done and that it's a character that has so many layers that like I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's common for a lot of Genshin to have like so many different layers and relationships within everything, but I feel like she touches into like everyone, within that Liyue, area. And so I really liked it. I honestly thought it was really kind of cool to see her even like come to ask for advice. So, yeah.
Is there something that you would like to see happen with her character?
What would I like to see happen? I think I just want to know more. I think I just want to understand more and like how much does she know? How many relationships does she have? Like how far does this go? Because I think she's very mysterious and doesn't give a lot only unless it's necessary. She'll let you in, which I think is kind of cool because it'd be interesting to see almost like a moment of I don't know, maybe a moment when I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot. I honestly feel like this could go anywhere with this character. Like with her, like it could go in any direction. So I'm not really even sure what I would want to see. I don't know what I want to put out into the universe because I'm like, oh man, because I'm like, if it goes this way, then what happens this way? So I'm like, I don't even know. All I will say is I would like to see myself pull for her because I haven't gotten her yet. So that's what I would like. So yeah.
Well, who do you play as since you've been playing it?
Um, well, I've got Lumine, right? And then I've got Amber, and I have to admit, I wasn't a big Lisa fan at first, but she is very good to play with. So I've just been I mean, I have like the main four at the moment, so I haven't been able to pull for anything extra yet because I've been saving up. So, but I've been enjoying them. It's a lot of fun, and it's been such an interesting learning curve for someone who's never played before.
Hmm.
Like, if you want to talk about a humbling experience, do that while you stream live and watch everybody else who knows how to do it look at you like, like, do you see that you've, increased? Like, they're like, press R2, X, triangle. And I'm like, where are they seeing this from? How are they knowing? And then once you get like a grand scheme of like everything, it's like, it's a very humbling experience to learn. But I will say that I've been learning pretty damn fast. So that has been fun. Um, but it's a good game. And it's interesting because I actually spoke to some of my friends that work within the video game world as well. And so when they found out, like they knew I play Claire Redfield, but when they also found out, and they were already a massive fan of that, when they found out that now I'm in Genshin and as Xianyun, like immediately contacted me and they were like, oh my God, we are the biggest Genshin fans. Oh my God, do we love your characters so much? And they like gave me like the whole like showed me everything around their home, and they had like all like the statues and everything, and I was like, oh man. And it was cool because they were sharing about how it really the game got them through COVID. It really did, and it was really like super beautiful and meaningful. And like every time I talk to anyone is like, oh my God, I wish I could go back to the first day I played Genshin, to like when I first started, and like have that feeling of like awe and excitement and like just seeing this beautiful world. And I have to admit, like, because I stream a lot of heavy games, and this game I feel like is so incredibly addicting because I've been able to play it and I feel like I'm outside because I'm a big nature lover, and like I adore it between that and the music and the rolling hills. I'm like, oh my gosh. So yeah, it's just cool. I don't know. It's pretty wonderful. So, and then also understanding, also with Shenyun, when people are like, oh, um, this whole mother thing, I was like, oh no, where are we going with this, everybody? Where are we going with this? But then they were like, wow, she's also like a truly like a mama bird. Like she truly like loves and adores too. And I was like, that's right, layers. So yeah.
Well, even with the embarrassing stories about Ganyu and Shenhe.
What would she say? Oh, she was plump like a little ball. About Ganyu.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's hilarious. It's just so funny. You never know where it's going to go. Is she going to be serious? Is she going to be like super intense? Is she going to give you some like, is she going to spill the tea on somebody? Like, what's happening?
Well, I'm sure you've
So,
noticed, like even since you've been playing too, that the fandom response to your performance and everything has been entirely positive.
it has been. It's been really nice. There's always that concern as an actor of like, well, how is it going to turn out? And, how are people going to feel about her and stuff? And honestly, like I've had a lot of people that either diehard people that were like, I loved her since she was Cloud Retainer, or I have those people that were like, I didn't like her as Cloud Retainer. I didn't think I was gonna like her, and then I played her story, and then she's become my favorite character now, or like one of my mains. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, that's cool. That's the stuff that I go, hell yeah. Because I'm like, that character grew on you because then that means that it pulled in all the right human strings,
Yep.
and so that's been pretty cool. That's been awesome to see. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I'm gonna start doing because I do a lot of conventions and I'm so excited because in March I do my first one and I cannot wait to like get to meet fans in person,
Yep.
because I know my fans from like all the other stuff that I do, but it'll be really nice to get to meet like Genshin fans in person and see what that's like and see how that's like, I've already had people say like how, oh my gosh, I feel like she's like mom for everyone and like so yeah, it's gonna be beautiful to see that.
So one thing that I've done with every Genshin interview is it's one of Zhang Li's lines that if I put it in the chat, if they can say it as their character.
Okay, all right, let's see what we got here. Well then. Hmm. Osmanthus wine tastes as good as I remember. But where are those who share the memories? There you go.
That's one of, I don't know if anyone's told you, but that's one of Zhang Li's lines, and it's like the line for the fandom that people
Really?
tag onto. Yeah,
That's so funny. So why that one? Why that one in particular?
because it hasn't really been explained like what osmanthus wine is. I don't know.
So everyone's like, so
Yeah,
well, maybe Cloud Retainer will explain it because she'll give you like a 20-minute explanation on it.
yeah.
That's too funny. I like it. And I don't know if you got to see, but I got back there, I
Yeah.
don't know if you saw it. I got this amazing artist to do this one here. And it was hilarious because I was trying to get her to do it before everything dropped, and we had to go through like leaked footage because I was like, I don't have anything of what she looks like, so I'm like trying to find as much things as I can. And it was funny because at that time, that's when I would hear people like, I don't know, she might suck, and like, I don't know if I'm gonna pull for her. And it's hilarious now to go, everyone's going, whoa, dude, she's maybe not as niche as you think. She's pretty powerful for this. And oh my gosh, did you see her story? And I'm like, don't read all the leak stuff.
Yeah.
So, which has been funny.
Is that the only print that you've had made of her?
Yes, this is my very first one. So first one I've had made, and then the other one I have is like from an actual like cloud retainer in game that I got created so it looked kind of like feathery. So,
Okay.
but yeah, so it's the beginning. So now I have to learn all of her favorite lines. So I'm gonna have to. I don't know if you have one yet, so or favorite moment yet, but yeah.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask that too. If it is different for you, like if the Impress one is your favorite, or if you have like some other favorite line as her.
Yeah, that line, honestly, I don't even know if it's an actual line or not. It's just words that I have in my head that I use to kind of get myself back in. Um, wow, if I have a favorite, I don't know if I do yet. I think I have to like really see how it landed, like within game to really understand what it was. I know that there were certain moments in game that I remember recording that I was like, oh, that is good. Like I remember I really loved when they had her character demo and there was the line about, few can learn martial arts, but to invent is to, and like there was like this whole sequence there. I was like, oh, that one was powerful. And I remember when I delivered that line, I was like, that feels powerful, and I liked it. I remember that. So that's probably like a moment that I kind of like. And then there's moments with obviously the player character, which I don't know if I don't want to give away like anything. I don't know if anyone watches this and like, I don't want to like ruin it if they haven't played yet. But there's some really like thoughtful, like deep, moments there that I really liked, and how she kind of handles that and expresses to, the character, like the player especially when they needed it most, So yeah, so I think there's a couple in there that are really really beautiful and powerful, and then also with UN Dai and stuff that there's some really cool stuff in there. So I don't have my favorites yet. We'll find out. I think I said fiddlesticks at some point, and I'm like, maybe I'll like that. We'll find out. But it's a journey right now for me as I go through that, and then eventually, finally pull for her. I'm trying to get myself to lantern right. You don't even understand. I'm on a mission right now. So yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
were you already friends with anybody else um that like playable characters in the game, like that voice playable characters?
Yeah, Brandon Knickerbocker.
Yep.
That's one. Griffin Burns. So like I'm trying to think who else that's in there. I already knew Keith. Keith I've known for years. Uh, who else? I'm trying to think. There's a lot of people that I don't even know that were in it. There's also, oh my gosh, who was it? Oh, I can't. I'm trying to think. But I did reach out to Chelsea, who plays Shenhe.
Yep.
So her and I have chatted back and forth for a while. We're gonna have our official meeting, which I think is funny because I know that there's a fun scene between her and I at having lunch, I believe, or dinner. And so I wonder if it'll be like that when we have lunch together for the first time. So I don't know, but she seems super fun. Very different from Shenhe. I feel like she's way more chatty, and
Yeah.
bubbly. So in real life, which I think is great. So, but there's definitely been a couple. I'm trying to think. There's other ones. Oh, Ray Chase as well, another friend of mine. Yeah, there's quite a few. There's actually quite a few. So there's some good peeps in there. And then some of us that didn't even know that we're both like in it, and they're like, wait a minute, you're in it too? Yeah. So yeah. But it's cool to like, because I feel like I was always in it, but on the outskirts, because it wasn't playable yet. Right. So she was just kind of like the NPC that will forever show up all the damn time and know everything and tell you everything, but she will not be playable. Wait a minute. Now she is. Like, so that was cool because then I feel like I'm part of that part of your world now, so which actually feels very uh Xianyun if you really think about it. 'Cause she was on the outskirts and then wanted to be part of the world again. So yeah. Is she the Little Mermaid? I don't know. But yeah. But
So is there a upcoming signing that you have that you want to promote?
yeah, so for actually for this one that I was showing you, I have, aside from the convention that will be in March, and then throughout the year I have a couple different conventions throughout, but live autograph signing I'm gonna do on February 23rd. And so that'll be, I believe that's right after Lantern Right, or is it, no, Lantern Right goes until the 25th, is it? Or okay, so it'll be just about 2 days short of it, and then 3 days after, I think you're allowed to fully. Her banner ends on the 20th or something. I don't know. Listen, I know these things just because of the mission I'm on right now, but like that'll be February 23rd at 11 a.m. And I do it all live. I have pre-sales open through Streamily, and I do it on Twitch. I don't know if you, Chris, if you know that I'm on Twitch as because I Claire. So
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, so but that's when I'll be doing it. And then I have another one also for anyone who's a Resident Evil fan. I have another one that's a dual print that I do on the 20th with Nicole Tompkins, who voices Jill Valentine. So
Yep.
yeah.
Well, is there anything that you want to say to the fan base for Xianyun?
I would say just thank you for accepting me, allowing me to come home, and honestly, just being super welcoming and so lovely. I've had an opportunity to kind of get to know some of you guys through the internet and learning this, game from the start. And you guys have been so, honestly, just so welcoming and so cool about all of it. And thanks for giving Mama Bird a chance.
Well, my final question is always asking, what do you want your legacy to be?
Legacy for the character?
I like for you.
Oh, for me. Oh, we're gonna get deep here. Okay. Um, what would I want my legacy to be? Well, I think of it this way. The day that I go, I want to have this big old wooden chest that I'm going to just have the most random shit in that one day people will go through and go, holy shit, grandma was crazy, you know? But she really, really lived her life. And then anytime that like I got to meet somebody or had an interaction with somebody, that person always felt comfortable, felt like it was an authentic, real experience, and that like I just truly lived, you know? So, yeah.
Well,
I
thank
got
you.
deep. I got
Oh,
deep, but it's the truth. So, yeah.
well, thank you. I'm glad that we got to do this.
Aw, thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate it. I appreciate your patience trying to get it all figured out too. So, yeah.
No problem. Well, I hope you have a good rest of your day then.
Thank you. You as well. All right, and let me know when it comes out or where you end up putting it up. You said it's on Reddit, right?
Yeah, well, I posted on YouTube and then I posted to Reddit. Yeah.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, you were my very first interview for her, so
Yeah, thanks.
awesome. All right. Thanks, Chris. We'll see you.
Bye.
Bye.